If owning your own theme park wasn't enough, Frontier Development is looking to draw us into their sandbox world once again with Planet Zoo. Hello everyone, it's Codiak here, and the beta is finally over for the much anticipated game. But what's good, what's bad, and what needs fixing before the game releases on November 5th? So many of you probably don't know who I am, but I'm a huge fan of Frontier Development, and more specifically the evolution of the sandbox-style simulation games I grew up with. I will admit I was super hesitant about picking up Planet Coaster when it first came out because I didn't think anything could live up to the expectations Roller Coaster Tycoon had set, but boy have my opinions changed over the years. What's so fundamentally important about these types of games are the systems, the things that connect everything together, and that's something Frontier has gotten right more often than it hasn't. But with a change of scenery, switching over from theme parks to zoos, there is a lot the team is experimenting with, so without wasting any more time, let's start with the good. Planet Zoo already has a rock-steady foundation, and the team can credit all of that to the years of development that have gone into Planet Coaster. The fundamental things that make the game chug along were all on display in the Planet Zoo beta. Of course, the building is absolutely superb. It's easy enough to pick up on the new barrier system used to create animal enclosures, and the pathing tools and custom building is truly one of a kind when it comes to creating unique spaces around your zoo. Frontier even added some impressive filtering to make finding the right objects for specific animals and environments a breeze. And while building has always been a centerpiece of these types of games, the pieces are all in place and it just works the way you want, and that's powerful. Now, while custom spaces and intricate menus are nice, the real stars of Planet Zoo are the animals. The game features some of the most gorgeous models and animations I have ever seen in any game, full stop. One of the highlights of my experience in the beta was using the in-game camera system to observe my animals up close in person. Frontier wants you to see your animals from this perspective because they're damn confident in their work, and they have every reason to be. Honestly, I could easily spend 10 minutes at a time just watching one animal or another. Now, another system that we should all be familiar with is the guest system, which is already wholly fleshed out, chugging along, working as intended. You can still interact with each guest as an individual, figure out their wants and needs, and tailor their experience accordingly. Additionally, you have options to see overall guest trends from a zoo overview feature, and that's incredibly helpful to see how your park is performing in the minds of the paying guests. While most of the old features from Planet Coaster have been carried over in one capacity or another, there are a host of new features that are unique to Planet Zoo, and this is where we arrive at a crossroads. But let's focus on the good stuff first. The game's franchise mode, which was the main focus of the beta, allows players to operate a chain of zoos in the online space. Opening up your first zoo is exciting, exhilarating, and a bit intimidating because of the brand new animal marketplace, which is a largely player-driven space. You, as a zoo owner, can open up the marketplace and find the animals you want to add to your zoo and pay for them using money or conservation credits, which you gain in a variety of ways, most of which were not available during the beta. Now, I promise I'll get to the negative stuff about this system in a bit, but the truth is, the concept is really cool. I enjoyed checking out the incredible animals people had raised, seeing where they came from. It all felt like a connected experience. Of course, I expect this to get even better once the game comes out with a full set of features, but I do enjoy the change of pace. Conservation credits are the real star here, and while the system is a bit wacky at the moment, once we gain enough credits consistently, it'll really open up players to plan out which animals we choose to bring into our parks. Now, players found that this system was wildly imbalanced, and I'd agree with them, but I like the idea of working hard to get enough credits to adopt a tiger or an elephant. I don't want those things to be handed to me right off the bat. What makes this system even more intricate is animal genetics, which ultimately determine which animals are more valuable than others. Longevity, fertility, immunity, these things matter when it comes to picking the right animals for your zoo, and that makes your choices impactful. Maybe I'm just a big old dope now that I'm a bit older and I want my decisions in life and video games to mean something, but I like everything the team has presented thus far, even if there are some sizable problems to work through. So we're on the right path, that is for certain, but sadly, the beta was bogged down by a number of bugs and core gameplay features that need some ironing out. Hopefully the team is paying attention to the community because I largely experienced and saw people saying the same things. We might as well start with where we just left off, the animal marketplace. I mentioned that players can buy animals one of two ways, with money or conservation credits, and while that's a good starting place for the market, so far it's been executed terribly. Animals get pushed into the market one of two ways, by other players or by developers, and herein lies the fundamental problem. During the beta period, players were feverishly watching the marketplace trying to snipe animals for cash, since cash is rather easy to get if you have an operational zoo, and conservation credits were incredibly hard to get, especially later in the beta period. Now, there were animals on the marketplace for relatively low conservation credits, but the problem is that those animals don't often produce a high enough return on investment. Some of the common animals that were being sold on the cheap, like ostriches and peafowls, just don't net you enough conservation credits in a reasonable timeline. Now, there are a number of other factors that play into this, like the game-breaking bugs and some fertility issues, but it largely meant that unless you sat and stared at the marketplace for hours on end, clicking refresh, you were doomed to fail from the moment you fired up the game. Now, some solutions have been floated, such as simply releasing more animals into the marketplace, or putting a cap on the amount of conservation credits players can sell each animal type for, but it remains to be seen which path, if any, Frontier will take. Now, I will say that there are going to be other ways to gain conservation credits throughout the game, but at this point, it's a flawed system, and that's being polite. Now, I also mentioned there are a number of bugs in the game, and let me tell you, those are a pretty big deal, specifically ones that prevent your keepers from feeding your animals. No food means starving animals, and soon enough, there's a dead giraffe in your exhibit, and your guests are freaking out. To compound this particular bug, the game doesn't do a great job letting you know that animals are having feeding issues until it's way too late. Oftentimes, you get the notification and boom, animal is on the verge of death. This may be more of a design thing than anything else, but it's a game changer, especially in the current state of the game during the beta, where every single animal was precious. Another pretty obnoxious bug was that guests would frequently use staff pathing, which players need to use to keep zoogoers away from facility buildings. Keeping guests happy is critically important when it comes to getting donations, and if they just ignore certain pathing and go where you don't want them to, you run into a whole host of issues, ultimately leading to lower donations. This is a pretty easy bug to fix, and I say that knowing nothing about game design. However, you can imagine that this one thing is something the team can iron out quickly and before launch. Now, moving away from bugs, I did want to touch on something completely different that I plan on talking about a lot more in another video, and that's the research component of the game. In this current state, players need to adopt and house animals in their zoos before they can start researching the essential things that make the animals happy, such as environmental features and enrichment items. This is a strangely backwards feature, considering that no actual zoo would ever adopt a critically endangered animal without having an expert on staff, doing research, and having the proper facilities for them to survive. On my first playthrough, I was experimenting with the small animal exhibits like frogs and scorpions, and lost most of them because I couldn't keep them alive long enough to research all the things I needed to, well, keep them alive. It's a backwards system and one that could easily be fixed by letting players research some things about the animals ahead of time. I'm not saying we should have access to everything right off the bat, but it's a strange race against the clock feature that doesn't seem totally practical if you step back and really think about it. Finally, I wanted to quickly touch on the barrier system I mentioned earlier in the video, and maybe it's just me, but I had a really tricky time with the interaction buttons that were overlaid on the screen. And while this isn't a huge deal in the big picture, a few aesthetic tweaks would make a big difference, and considering how important barriers are, it would help the overall design of zoos. At its core, Planet Zoo is just as brilliant and innovative as Planet Coaster. There is so much going in the right direction, it's hard not to be excited about the game's official release. But that being said, there is a lot that could prevent the game from reaching its full potential and ultimately reaching more people. The marketplace is a fantastic idea in theory, but lacking in execution, and that was obvious to everyone from casual players to some of the genre's most experienced. A good hard look at this system, as well as some of the game-breaking bugs players encountered in the beta, will set Planet Zoo on the right path for launch. The excitement is there, the fan base there, but can Frontier pull it all off before November 5th? We'll just have to wait and see. If you're excited about Planet Zoo and want to know more about the game, go ahead and give this video a like and consider subscribing to the Game Gurus for more Planet Zoo videos in your feed. If you want to share your thoughts on the video or the beta, feel free to leave us a comment in the section below. We do our best to respond to every comment, so don't be shy and let us know what's on your mind. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at the Game Gurus, thanks for watching and play on.
Thanks for checking out the video. If you want to learn more about the game or just want to be part of an incredible video game community, join the Game Gurus on Discord. Be the first to know what's going on with the channel and interact with me and the rest of the team on a daily basis. To join, check out the link below.